Welcome to Style World, which this week comes to you from Cornwall in the southwest of England. In this edition, how a deserted 1920s tea house received a Cinderella-style makeover, and how another glorious but faded vestige of the past has been given a new and glittering lease of life. Cornwall is bounded by the Atlantic Ocean in the north and by the English Channel in the south. Cornish history is littered with wrecks and wreckers, pirates and smugglers. The coastline is of rocky promontories as well as flat expanses of sand and surf. Touched by the Gulf Stream, tropical plants and trees thrive in places. The ancient harbours are home to fishermen whose fresh catches are a major attraction at local hotels. Prideaux Place near Padstow on the Atlantic coast is a ready-made film set. In fact, it's such a rich and beautifully varied house that movie makers clamour to use it. Continually added to over the centuries, here you'll find rooms that are authentic Elizabethan, Restoration, Georgian, Regency and Victorian. It's been home to Peter Prideaux's family for all of those 400 years, handed ceremoniously on by one generation to the next.
The front door is the original Elizabethan door, complete with the original 16th century lock. The key is always presented to the eldest son on his 21st birthday on the basis of a sort of huge key. You couldn't even lose it. I hadn't lost it, and I gave it to my eldest son on his 21st birthday.
It's perhaps not surprising that filmmakers make use of Prideaux Place. Each room is a perfect time capsule of a certain age, faithfully and painstakingly restored. Peter and his wife Elizabeth inherited the house in 1988. There were 81 rooms, all in different styles from different ages, and all needing expert attention.
When we first came down here, it seemed to be quite a large task that we were taking on because there was a lot of work to be done. This particular room we're in now was actually under scaffolding because of dry rot, and the house was in need of a little lightening up. And then we just really did it room by room over, well, a long time. I mean, 12 years it's taken us to make a bit of headway.
It was money and time well spent. A huge task, recruiting hard-to-find special skills to deal with a house of so many different ages, styles and features.
The dining room, that is a really special room. It would have been the great hall of the Elizabethan house where the servants and the family would have eaten together. And it really has changed very little over the centuries.
Well, I love this room, in fact, the library we're in, which I haven't read all the books in it, I'm afraid to say. But it looks like a church, but it actually wasn't. It was never a church. All the stained glass here is a history in heraldic terms of all the heraldic heiresses the Prideauxs have married. They've been very good at marrying the Prideauxs. That's really why we're still here.
The Great Chamber, that is the jewel in the crown. It's the most extraordinary ceiling. It's contemporary with the house and was built by the Abbott family of Frithlestock, and it actually depicts the story of Susanna and the elders.
The Great Chamber's extraordinary ceiling had remained virtually unseen for over 200 years, until Peter had it restored to its full glory.
It was rather like the Sistine Chapel. They were on sort of swinging sort of things hanging underneath the ceiling, doing their work there. It was very hard work, but it was a great success when it was finished.
It may be difficult sharing the fabulous treasures of Prideaux Place with the general public, but its owners are very much aware that besides its great beauty, the house offers an added attraction.
The main reaction of people is they love the fact that it's not a museum, but it's a living family house. I mean, they see the boys wandering around the house, the dogs wandering around the house. You probably tripped over dogs here today. And I think they love the fact that, unlike an awful lot of these houses, sadly now, that have to be museums really, this is still one of the sort of few remaining houses that is a lived-in home.
Further along the Atlantic coast of Cornwall, a few miles from the very tip of Land's End, is the town of St Ives, one of the most popular resorts in the region. The rather tarnished image of English seaside resorts, with their candy floss and sandy sandwiches, is changing fast, and St Ives is the vanguard. A fine example of the change is the Porthminster Beach Cafe, where the proprietors offer rather more than just fish and chips. An old tea house by the beach has been transformed into a Mediterranean-style cafe restaurant with an imaginative menu and decor to match. From the start, the new owners had no illusions about what they could afford on their very tight budget.
We are a beach cafe. We don't profess to be anything else. I'd like to think we're a stylish, classy beach cafe, but people open the doors and they often don't know what to expect. Because of the location, and I think they sometimes have a surprise, I hope a pleasant one. The emphasis is on seafood, fresh seafood. We're right on a beach. I would say over the last 4 or 5 years, we've developed a fusion type food. We brought in some Australian chefs 4 years ago to complement our own very experienced team of chefs down there. And so we have a really nice mix now. We serve fresh lobster when it's available, and when we do serve lobster, we have it brought in by boat onto the beach. Chefs go out and bring it in.
The Porthminster Beach Cafe takes on a different character at night, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the night customers are different to the ones who visit during the day.
We're very aware that we have a lot of loyal customers, and they like a smiling, happy face. They like to be talked to. They want that eating here. And believe me, people spend a lot of their holidays here. They come here for their coffee and lemon tart in the morning, dish of sardines at lunchtime, and then come back in the evening.
For many of the loyal customers, there's a very pleasing added attraction, a further dimension to the beach cafe's decor, and that's the vivid, abstract artwork of Anthony Frost, son of the artist Sir Terry Frost. St Ives is very much associated with artists and has been for over 100 years. Anthony Frost's work sells nationally, internationally, and with the help of the exposure at the cafe, locally as well.
Positive, totally positive in the sense of not only have people really enjoyed eating and with the artwork around them, but a lot of them seem to purchase the stuff as well, which is incredible, and a lot of them have done that, which has been really good. Exceptionally, I mean, some people have gone in there for lunch and come out thousands of pounds short, less, or lighter.
I think Anthony's pieces really complement this restaurant. I think they really bring it to life. And when they come down off the wall at the end of the year, before we clear the restaurant, you know, it loses its life.
Cathy Wilcox's revitalised Old Beach Cafe, like the town of St Ives itself, is now poised to cater for a new and perhaps more demanding and sophisticated generation of holidaymakers, in a season that gets longer and longer.
It's a very beautiful place to live. It's full of interesting people, and over the last 10 years, it's become less and less of a seasonal town and much more of an all-round happening. And I think seaside towns in general have become much more fashionable, much more classy. I think we're becoming aware of what we've got.
Resorts like St Ives have never been less than picturesque, if not beautiful. But traditionally, they've been rather less than alluring to actually live in. Holiday homes, for example, long associated with the ramshackled furniture and threadbare carpets, are being upgraded. John Nee is a photographer with a sideline in the holiday home business. He saw an opportunity in the market and, with a friend, decided to create a holiday home in St Ives for renting that made the word tacky redundant. The virtues and attractions of old buildings like this one, renovated and run by John Nee and his friend Philip Harrison, are being rediscovered and revealed.
When we first saw the property, the potential of the view was obvious. But what we wanted to do, and I think talking to Philip as I had before, I realised that he had the same ideas as myself, that we did not want to do just another house to let in St Ives, because, in my opinion, they're all brown velour sofas and pretty grotty, and it'll do for the visitors syndrome, and I just do not agree with that. You know, I believe that people who want to come down on holiday want a fantastic place to live in. They want to have a memorable holiday. So not only the beaches and the sunshine and the countryside and everything else, they want to have had a spectacular time in the place they live in. And I'm hoping that we've delivered that.
Philip Harrison happens to be a professional designer. For him, the spectacular sea view was the key to the design plan.
Our first reaction really was obviously its orientation to the coastline, and really that set everything in motion. The aspect out of the principal windows on the first and second floor were just absolutely perfect. The view was fantastic, so everything else really had to play to that. When it came to the material that we introduced into it, it was really trying to strike a balance between, I suppose, colourways and finishes that have a seaside connotation really. You know, stripes in this sort of material have that sort of flavour to them. That was quite a deliberate thing to introduce weathered timber in some of the detailing throughout the place, which has that linkage to the sea.
John has lent a personal touch to the holiday home, his very own distinctive photographs of St Ives. Many of them are big close-up studies of seaside objects, flotsam and jetsam, surfaces and contours.
In St Ives, I mean, you could take photographs here 365 days a year because the sand and the sea and the light change every single day. Doesn't matter what the weather is, rain or shine, there's things there to take photographs of, and that's what I try and do.
All the little touches add up to a cosy, spacious and intriguing holiday home for a family who expect more than just the basics. And for Philip and John, the venture has paid off in more than just one sense.
I did have a few comments on a few people that were shown around prior to letting it out, a photographer and an architect, and both of them said, "You're not going to let this out, are you? It's too good for the visitors." And I thought, we got it right then, because that's exactly what we want to do.
In part 2 of Style World, Cornwall, England, the couple who created a modern, eco-friendly home out of the space left by a railway carriage, and a hotel 5 hours drive from London that's a magnet to the city's glitterati.